Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Knowledge for Men is now doing live men's retreats in San Diego, California. Imagine 3 days of intense personal development training with 10 other like-minded men all pursuing greatness in life, business, and their relationships. You are not alone on this journey. Come to San Diego and experience The Awakening, a real cutthroat program designed to give you the tools you need to go from where you are now to where you want to be. There are only 10 spots and it's filling up quickly, so go to kfmretreat.com to learn more and apply for the program. Again, that's kfmretreat.com. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Micha Mikailian. He's a serial entrepreneur with 22 years of experience and 8 startups to date. He loves creating game-changing businesses that contribute to the evolution of humanity. His most recent company, Intently, is a software platform that replaces online ads with inspirational images chosen by the user. I'm going to have to check that out. And he's done a lot of amazing work here in San Diego. So I'm excited to bring you here.
Yeah, thanks. So great to be here. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Absolutely. And Misha, we start off every show with a quote, some sort of saying that the guest has lived by. So share with us what you got and what that really means to you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great question. The quote that comes to mind is that it's better to walk alone than with the crowd going in the wrong direction. So really to keep the perspective of creating what's possible in the world, regardless of the default way of our current way of thinking.
How has that right there helped you on your journey? Did you follow the crowd before? Were you in that crowd? Was there a breakthrough?
Yeah, there definitely were some breakthroughs along the way where I've really found my own self and my own self-expression, and particularly within the realm of entrepreneurship and the business I've started, been taken the view of what's possible, even if it doesn't exist, and really not necessarily creating something that fits within the current, system, more of a disruptive, out of the box type of view. So I've definitely been carrying out that quote with me through my career.
So by just taking your own path and going down the path that speaks most to you instead of just doing what the crowd is doing or what the rest of society is doing, it has led to some amazing things in your life. I mean, 8 startups to date, you got incredible businesses running, 22 years experience. Like this alone seems like, it is your way of life.
Yeah, definitely. It's really served me well and really supported me and all the success that I've had.
All right. So I'm curious, was it always like this? Did you always live this way? I'm interested in your story. How does one start 8 startups to date? You're a young guy, 22 years experience. I mean, it sounds like you were probably starting businesses as a kid. I'm sure if that's the case here. So let's dive in, let's take a few steps back and share with us how you got started with what you do.
Yeah, it was a really interesting story, actually. I had a kind of a riches to rags story growing up, where I grew up in a really wealthy household that shifted very quickly. And I was 12 years old and my mom couldn't afford the Air Jordans anymore. And all of a sudden I was like really upset because I really wanted my Jordans. And and
such a tragedy.
My mom got really mad at me and she just said, well, if you want your Jordans, you're going to have to go figure out how to make your own money. So that's kind of where my entrepreneurial career began. And by the time I got out of high school, I was already on my 3rd company. And, I just kind of took that challenge and that shift in my family's lifestyle as a real fuel to just go out there and do something about it. And I had a lot of success early in my early years. I was at the right place at the right time with some of my early businesses. I started the first internet yellow pages back when I was just 15 years old. And I got into a real estate investment business, like right when the market was like the perfect timing for it. And it was interesting because in my mid 20s, after having a lot of success, and, I was actually at 20 years old, I was already a millionaire. And I started making some really bad decisions and some bad investments. And 4 years later, I ended up dead broke and $250,000 in debt. And I would say that's been like that most key experience in my life, was that real humbling experience of realizing that I didn't really have it all figured out and I didn't know what I was doing this whole time. I just had gotten pretty lucky in a lot of the ventures I had initially started as a kid, and where I really just had to find myself and my truth and really go deep. And I feel like I emerged from that experience a much better man and more well-equipped to do things at the scale that I'm looking to do now.
Wow. So many questions just came up, and it's like we just so many years in that quick little hit there. But 15 years old, starting your businesses. I mean, are you pursuing mentors? Are you reading books? Like, what is this path that you're taking? You're a freshman in high school starting businesses, but shortly after you graduate high school, you said you're a millionaire. Like, what path? Like, who is helping you along this way?
I wish I had mentors back then. And this is like pre MySpace, pre Facebook. There wasn't like communities of entrepreneurs. Like, I didn't know what it was like to be an entrepreneur. I went to my friends' parents who had started their own business and said, "Hey, I'm starting this yellow pages on the internet. Like, I need your advice." And they said their advice was to shut it down because the internet's not about local stuff. It's all about connecting with people globally. So like, even the people I sought advice from back then didn't see my vision. So it was very lonely for me that first like 5-6 years. It was when I got to college that I started seeing like, oh, there's an entrepreneur club, and there's classes around entrepreneurship. Like, until then, it was just really kind of like figuring it out. I didn't even have a word for it or terminology yet.
Yeah, like the 4-hour work week probably wasn't out yet. All these books probably weren't out yet. All these online programs, all these things out there, all these resources that are available to us now. I'm wondering how the hell, like, what is driving you in this direction? Like, a lot of people, like, the entrepreneur is kind of a hot thing right now, or it has been for some time. But for you to be doing this back then when it wasn't, and it wasn't even so long ago, it's not like you're this old man. Like,
no,
this is
I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's make that clear. Let's make that clear, guys. No, but that's what's so beautiful.
More fun than I've ever had in my life.
That's what's so awesome is like, this is really something new here. But so then what was it? Like you said, your mentor that you sought out wasn't even supporting you. Like, you're on your own here. What the hell are you doing?
I think I just got lucky that it worked, that I just started making money, and it felt really good. So I just kept doing it. And I think it was like I was really naive and it served me well. And I got lucky at the same time. So, I was blessed to have my first experiences be successful enough to actually learn from them and grow from them without getting completely slapped around too early on.
Yeah. And what would you say was driving you? Like, for a period, it was the Jordans. I'm sure you took care of that problem, after a year or so. What was driving you at that young age to keep going? Like, was there what was it?
Yeah, I really identified with the idea of being an entrepreneur and creating businesses. It just really appealed to me. So I don't know how to explain it other than it felt like there was no other path for me. It just felt right. It felt good.
Yeah. What was it like for you kind of growing up, friends all graduating college, you're looking for jobs, you've already built a multi-million-dollar businesses. What was that experience for you like? And also for your family too, as you're growing up, like, hey, were they pushing you to get a job? Like, was this insecure?
No, yeah. So, my mom was uber supportive.
Yeah.
My dad, like, I was actually lying to him at the time, and he didn't know I had started all these businesses because because he made me promise that I wouldn't, and I did anyways, and I just never told him. And so I had this whole thing that
why are you lying? If your businesses are successful, like why are you having
eventually I cleaned it all up and let him know. We just didn't have. It was just kind of where our relationship was at the time.
Okay.
But that was actually really lonely. Like it was. It felt really hard for me to relate to people in college and I wasn't doing the typical college thing. I was like working like 90 hours a week in college and like busting my ass and just, and occasionally I'd meet college kids that kind of knew what I was up to and thought it was really cool. But for the most part, people were like, okay, you're different and you're weird and I'm not really like comfortable hanging out with you. I just didn't feel like I was a part of the typical crowd in college, which is interesting. So, and that was part of my downfall actually was after I had exited that business and just, I just was like wanting to have fun. I felt like I had missed out all this stuff. And I went to this extreme edge of like blowing money and spending it and like kind of just going out and being a little nuts with the success I had made so far. But it was a lonely time and it was challenging, but the real like transformation came from after pushing myself to broke and really kind of exploring what was really important to me and really finding myself.
On that journey, that seems like a major catalyst to where you are now. What did that look like? Was that travel? Was that reaching out to coaches or reading, journaling? Like, what was the path of turning point? Yeah.
Yeah, it went through like a lot of personal development. So it was like, reading books, like doing workshops and seminars. And, I did like Landmark and, went to like a retreat with Eckhart Tolle. Like I did all these different, seminars that really like started like really discovering my own truths and really finding myself in all of that, which was a really empowering process.
Yeah, I'm sure you were listening to all of the Knowledge for Men podcast episodes. You forgot to mention.
Yeah, I wish they were out back then. This could have been really helpful, man. Where were you?
I was probably like just skateboarding or something. I was like a kid or something. But I'm pulling some good insight here. It's one thing that I'm clearly getting, which has been this is probably the title of the episode, when I put it out. But your quote was, "It's better to walk alone than in the crowd." And so even it's hard for you, like your father, like you're having to lie. And I think a lot of people are always listening to their parents about what they should do with their lives. Even if you have to lie, like you're doing it for yourself. You're sticking to what you want to do. In school, your friends are kind of like, you said almost as an outcast, I guess the norm in college. You're not socially like with it there. You're doing your own thing. You're sticking to what you really want to do and following your path. And despite the hardships, you stuck with it. I'm putting this message out because obviously, you've seen a lot of success, and I think these things here are what prevent some people from just going after what it is that they want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so true. Persevering through all of that. It's part of the journey of being an entrepreneur. You're not always walking in the direction where you have all the support of everybody around you. A lot of times being an entrepreneur is a journey that tests you in your perseverance and your grit.
Yeah. I was just finishing up a book by Mark Cuban. He's like, what would you say is like the toughest sport in America?
Probably like rugby or something.
Yeah, well, rugby's not really.
It's not really an American sport. So
but
like
it's
football.
Here, yeah, okay. So we think of these like aggressive, we're like, no, MMA, football, rugby. Mark Cuban says, business, entrepreneurship is the toughest sport in America because it's 24/7 and it's your life, your family, it's your blood, it's your own money, it's all on the line. And it's not for 2 hours, it's not for 60 or 90 minutes. It's 24/7, it's every day. And it seems like going through that, like you learn so much when you put yourself every single day. It's you trying to build your thing. It's you going after what it is that you want to create in the world. Yeah.
What's interesting too, I really used to identify with that, and I don't feel like I identify with that point of view anymore.
Let's dive into it.
I used to identify a lot with being an entrepreneur, and it was like wrapped up in my identity. And I felt like my self-worth was about proving myself as an entrepreneur, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing for my success trajectory, because it did push me to accomplish a certain amount of success. But as I've matured and really like done a lot of this personal work, I've really looked at it from a different lens. And it's like entrepreneurship is like, it's like a tool. It's a space to be creating in. And, I don't look at it with that same type of intensity as I did before, where it's like, this is my family's livelihood or this or that. It's really, for me, the context of it now is like, it's a tool to make an impact on the world. And it's a tool to really like be of my like highest contribution to society, and also means to myself and to my family and my future family that doesn't exist yet in terms of my, future kids and all that kind of good stuff. But I really stopped identifying just with that kind of notion that I think a lot of entrepreneurs do identify with being an entrepreneur, and just kind of the intensity of the struggle, so to speak.
Yeah, this is a good topic. You're saying that entrepreneurship is your contribution. It's something that you can create, and something to really build something with for your life and for the rest of the world. Is that what I'm getting? And it used to be more along the lines of this battle between you and your business?
Yeah, it used to be more like it was my identity, and it was more about proving myself to the world.
So if your business was successful, that would increase your self-worth.
Yeah.
And if it failed, then you would feel like a failure personally because it was your business.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now if your business fails, how does this impact you now? Or let's just say results aren't coming in as you'd expect. How does that impact you now?
It's like
previously.
How it impacts me now is like, it's like I'm taking a shot, and what do I learn from that? And what can I do differently? What is there for me to learn and grow from? But really honoring just the shot that I'm taking at being a contribution and trying to make something happen.
Yeah. I think this is a really good topic, and it's something not discussed enough. Well, okay. So looking at this failure, this this turning point in your life when you started to rise out of that, and can you say that personal growth was something new to you at that time? Were you actively just like business focused, and then this level of pain led you to a higher level of personal development for yourself?
Yeah, no, it definitely led me to a higher level of personal development. And at first I didn't realize what a business competency that is. But as I went through it, I realized, wow, like this self-awareness is actually like a huge, huge leadership competency and business competency. So, I would definitely recommend for entrepreneurs who don't feel like they have very high levels of self-awareness to be thinking more about personal development, but also as an avenue to improve who you are as a business leader.
The opening line of this show, it's a quote from Tal Elrod, and he says, your level of success is proportional to your level of personal development. I feel like to work on yourself and to really build yourself up is the path of like building more success in your life. But I'm always a little kind of confused, or kind of like when someone just goes straight into business and they're like successful and, they weren't really hitting the books, hitting the coaching, hitting the mentors, like going to events and like really working on themselves very intentionally.
Yeah, there's definitely fringe cases in every scenario. You can't look at any kind of individual cases and draw conclusions off it. But I would say, in general, I've noticed that business leaders that have worked on themselves and established a certain level of self-awareness have been more successful business people.
Yeah. And in your circle of your network of entrepreneurs, this is the same with the people that you know in your own life.
Yep. Yeah, and there's definitely fringe cases, like even early on, like I was successful despite not having any self-awareness, but I had this like drive behind me. And sometimes, there's different factors that drive people, so it's not necessarily like, hey, you can't be successful if you're not self-aware or focused on your own personal development. But
right.
But it's definitely a more fulfilling way to go, because your success now actually comes with, I would say, like a lot more enjoyment and grace and, connection out of it.
Yeah. And so having this awareness now and applying this into your businesses, what's driving you now? Like, what is the level of impact that you're looking to build? You have so much experience and having gone through some turmoils and risen out and continuing to grow. Like, what's the level of impact now that you're looking to create?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking to impact, millions of people with what we're doing with Intently. And, not only does our software tool actually support people in their own personal development and their own path of self-awareness, because they block all their ads and they see, quotes that connect them to how they're growing in life, and connect them to their intentions and goals in life. But on top of that, we're actually looking at shifting the entire advertising industry to be a force for good in the world. So we've figured out a way through a unique business model that we can actually take this $150 billion a year industry and have it be a more successful industry in the context of driving positive change in the world. So to me, that's really exciting, to get at bat and take a swing at shifting a huge industry that could have a tremendous amount of impact for, hundreds of millions of people.
And what do you think your younger self would say if he heard that?
I think my younger self would be really excited. Yeah. Like, I think it would just be cheering me on and encouraging me.
Yeah, that's good. It's like, oh, what are you doing? I don't want to do that. No, this is good. This is good. All right. Well, Misha, I got a part of the show called the Knowledge Round. So just going to ask you some more rapid fire questions here. Are you ready for the Knowledge Round?
Yeah.
Someday I'll go after my dreams. Someday I'll take action. Wouldn't the world be a better place if we were all inspired? If the world wasn't full of uninspiring people? We're all taught that life is tough. Life is hard. But the awful truth is that life is easy. It's pretty easy to live and do just enough. But truly living, chasing your dreams is hard. What are you dying to do? What is it that lights a fire in your heart? Don't wait till someday to answer this question. There is nothing more important than figuring that out. We're all dying, but if you're not chasing your dream, then you're already dead. Guys, go to kfmretreat.com to apply for my retreat that will change everything. Go to kfmretreat.com to apply and be part of a program that will be a catalyst for redefining your life. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime.
The question I have for you, Misha, is what advice would you give to someone who's feeling lost or unsure of their purpose?
Well, I would say first and foremost, like, find some mentors to really, really connect with.
All right. And what would you say was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
Just myself, being in my head.
This is just like a sub question off of that. What percent would you say that you were living in your head in the past compared to where you are in this moment?
I would say 90% in the past, and in this moment, 20%.
At least you're honest, right? Like 0. Okay.
No, definitely still get in my head sometimes.
Yeah, right. It's really a lifelong journey there. But how has that, just that alone, because I know I do retreats and programs and coaching, and like that is just such a challenge. Like, how has that changed your overall life? Just that right there, like just being more present. Like, how has that impacted your personal life, your relationships, your business?
Oh, just everything is kind of taken to the next level. I mean, I've never been so fulfilled in my relationships and my friendships and my community and my business and my family. Like, everything up leveled from that shift.
Yeah, damn. It's a really good topic. And what was going on in your mind when you say you're running all these businesses and compared to just being more present? What was it, your mind racing? Like, were you just like thinking about the past, or is it like thinking about?
Yeah, constantly in the past, constantly, questioning things, and just kind of like that monkey brain was just always talking. It was always going. It never stopped. It didn't really create much space to really be present, like you were saying.
Yeah, and enjoy life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on this journey, I haven't heard, a lot of guys kind of hit, drop all these books and stuff. I haven't heard any at all, but what would you say are, let's just say, two of your most influential books that have helped you on your journey, and why?
I would say I want to start with like more of a book on personal development, like spirituality. I think Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, that was a really impactful book.
Yeah.
Book on that journey of really getting present. And for entrepreneurs, I really enjoyed. I read recently the Ben Horowitz creative book. I think it's called The Hard Things About Hard Things, but it was about his whole journey as an entrepreneur, and I got a lot of great context out of that is really fueling me on my journey right now. Yeah. So
nice. I'll have to check that one out. Good books there. And I recently just outsourced my cooking, which is amazing. So I'm on to,
love that.
Yeah. It's a fresh, I basically just bought like really good health books, and I was like, all right, read this and make this for me. What's your biggest productivity hack in your personal life?
I would say it's like to what extent of what you're saying, outsourcing your cooking. I took that to the extreme level, and I outsourced every single possible thing in my life, with the exception of where I really contribute well at work and having fun. And everything else is done. Like no shopping, no errands, no taking my car to the gas station. Like nothing happens in my life except for having fun and exercising my gift within my company. And I've got other people taking care of the rest. And that's been the best thing I've ever done for myself. Yeah.
And so right here in this moment, I'm thinking that there might be listeners thinking, oh, well, you're successful, you have money, like all this and that. Any context into that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, sure, there's tons of productivity hacks. One is a plug for my product, Intently, because you could literally program intently with what you want to accomplish in your life, and you get reminded of it throughout the day, all the time. So when you're not doing an action that's aligned with what you actually want in your life, it has you realize that and take corrective measures throughout the day, because it's constantly reminding you in place of your advertising what you're committed to.
Yeah. Okay. The reason why I did the cooking, and you do that to the extreme, which is I'm going to have to start going into that direction, is because I thought about like how much time I was spending cooking. And it's like at least an hour a day. And so that's 30 hours a month. And then grocery shopping is at least an hour and a half a week. So that's 6 hours a month. So we're at 36 hours. And so even if I was only charging $100 an hour, which I don't, but even if I was, that's costing me $3,600. And to just outsource all of that, it costs less than $1,000 a month. So it's like,
yeah,
it's like you're just losing money when you do this. And so I was putting it into that context for someone who is like, oh, I don't have extra money to do that, but you're actually losing money is the way that I look at it. It's because your skill sets are worth so much, and you could pay someone to do those things. And right now I've got ads for cleaning the apartment too. So I'm moving in that direction.
Nice. That's a great point.
Especially when you're a CEO, when you're running several companies, and it's costing you're worth thousands of dollars an hour. So you scrubbing the toilet is it's just not where you need to be. Okay, so this next one's more of a scenario, and it's this. So imagine you had, Misha, 60 seconds with your 20-year-old self. What would you tell 20-year-old Misha to do, and what would you tell him not to do? And this is personal, this is professional, this is all that.
Man, so I would tell my 20-year-old self to, first of all, like jump into that personal development world right away. I would tell him to take the Landmark Forum. That was the most impactful thing I had done in my adult life. I would tell him to like go find a mentor, to go find someone to help support him and teach him, and that it would completely accelerate his career and his path. And I would tell him to really just to be himself, and to not try to be things for other people, and to really stay grounded in who you are and just really cultivate that.
I like that. I'm just letting that sink in here. And now closing the knowledge round, even if you have to summarize some of your main points here, I mean, Misha, you've done some incredible shit in your life. There's a lot of guys who would like to create some of that too. So just diving into your mind even deeper, like what would you say is your philosophy on life and success?
Yeah, it's a good question. I like a specific philosophy doesn't come to mind, except for just like to just have a lot of fun in the process and just to be grateful, like to be grateful for everything, like to really be in that space of gratitude will bring you so much more in your life to be grateful for.
Yeah, so grateful for everything. Like grateful that I live in San Diego. Grateful that I, am healthy. Like
yeah, when I find out if I'm coming from a place of lack and I'm like, oh, I don't have money for this, or I wish I could be doing this, or anything in my life that's not working well. If I'm like dwelling on that or in that space, it actually just pulls you further away from what you want. And what I find is like when you're like, okay, well, what could I be grateful for right now? And, for a long time, me and my former partner, we did every morning we woke up and we thought of 5 things we were grateful for. So like, I'm grateful for my health, or I'm grateful that my family's alive, or I'm grateful, whatever it is, coming up with those 5 things every day. And it creates this frame where you're living in gratitude, and then within that context, more things to be grateful for start coming into your life. So there's always something to be grateful for, no matter how challenging you think your current situation is. When you do get in those situations where it has you in kind of a frame where you're, not feeling the best about your present situation, just find those things to be grateful for. That's been a really big help for me.
Yeah, I like that. Actually, I liked how you said you do that in the morning. It's like a great way to start your morning. And even if you have a partner, I think that's a great way to kind of build that connection. All right, so that's going to conclude the knowledge around there. Just briefly, I want to know what's exciting you today. Like when you're getting out of bed, other than maybe a coffee or a green smoothie, what's getting you out of bed?
I'm just like living, breathing intently right now. I'm excited about connecting people to their goals and intentions in life. And I'm excited about creating an advertising industry where you as a consumer could control every single ad you see based on the context or even the values of the companies that are advertising to you. I'm excited about empowering, billions of consumers to be able to have that right and to be able to exercise it.
I like it. And go ahead and give yourself a plug. How can my audience follow up with your latest projects?
Yeah, I just right now we're in beta, but we'll be launching out of beta very soon. And you can join our beta group at intently.com. And on Intently, it basically is a plugin for any of your web browsers, for Firefox, Safari, Chrome. And what it'll do, it'll get rid of every single ad you see while you browse the internet, and it replaces those ads with things that support you and benefit in your life. So, and that you control. So you basically take control of that ad space to reprogram your subconscious mind to achieve exactly what you want to achieve in life.
Wow.
And it's free. We don't charge you anything for it. So
wow, there are a lot of marketers who probably do not like you, Misha. I think what you're doing is great. But yeah.
And I come from an online advertising background, so I ran an agency before. I ran over 100 million in ad spend. We're actually doing online marketers a favor because ad blocking is a huge problem. There's over 100 million people using ad blockers, 22% of internet users actually, and it's here to stay. And we're actually building a new framework to be able to monetize the ad blocking industry that will support marketers in being able to better reach customers they do want to reach. So the end goal is to actually help save the industry from the ad blockers. It's just there's a journey to get to that point.
Yeah, I like what you're doing. I love the vision, massive impact. I love you're thinking big. I like that. I can really feel that just from listening to this conversation. So thank you for sharing your vulnerability and getting deep here on the show. You just hop on. I just start asking you questions. So I really appreciate that. Just going into your life. You're probably just walking out with all kinds of questions now. But this has really been enjoyable. I know my audience has gotten a lot of impact here. So
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and 1 million downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we've just started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a review in iTunes. It really helps to grow the podcast. Guys, 2015 is the official year of living with purpose, where every day you do only the things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. Check out kfmfree.com to get free tools I've created to help you crush life. Again, that's kfmfree.com. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and I'll see you in the next episode.